Okay, let's take a look at something that's my own creation. And if you can conquer these 4 triangles, you'll be able to master photography. I like to keep things simple. Life is short. Keep things simple. Why do you have to complicate things? Don't always accomplish that in certain things. So let's take a look and see what we can learn here. Okay? Now, it's a huge misnomer. They talk about the exposure triangle having to do with the aperture, shutter speed, and ISO. But ISO has nothing to do with exposure. It lets you manipulate exposure, but ISO, and this is one of the hugest, biggest, dumbest damn mental blocks out there, ISO has nothing to do with exposure. It is applied gain. Okay? It's neither sensitivity nor is it exposure. Okay? It's applied gain. It's not native sensitivity. It's not any form of sensitivity. It's applied gain. If you don't know what the difference is, then I've actually explained it in like a bunch of different videos. You can certainly take a look, but get that through your head that ISO has nothing to do with exposure. So let's take a look at 4 different triangles, technically 5, but ultimately 4. 4 different triangles, and if you can conquer these 4 triangles, you'll be able to conquer photography. Okay? Let's take a look at the misnomer first here, ISO. When we want to use ISO, action, shake, low light. Remember, this is crutch, what I've called crutch exposure. You know, it's applied gain. It's neither exposure nor is it sensitivity. Know when you need to apply it. Low light. Things have gotten a lot better in high ISO. I mean, obviously, that's irreducibly undeniable. High ISO in modern DSLRs has gotten a lot better. And everything is going to ISO-less sensors also. You can underexpose something by 4-stop, depends on the camera, 4-stop, 5-stop, and you can actually, you know, swipe your exposure slider in post-production on your computer, and you can properly expose the scene. So, ISO, action, shake, low light. Well, that's the easy one. We certainly started off with the easy one. So, let's go on to the one that everybody thinks they got right, but they don't have right. The exposure triangle. Okay, we know about aperture, we know about shutter speed. Well, obviously, okay. How do they interrelate? But what's the third one? You know, it used to be that everybody thinks the exposure triangle is aperture, shutter speed, and ISO. It's not. It's called photographia for a reason. It is aperture, shutter speed, and illumination. Well, these 2 are camera side, right? Obviously so. Aperture and shutter speed. But what is the ranking of where these come into effect? All things being equal, which they never are, but generally, what is the ranking? It's number 1. It's illumination. Whether you create the illumination or whether you're taking advantage of Mother Nature's natural illumination, illumination is number 1. What do you think is number 2? Well, I've got it listed right there. Aperture is number 2. Subject isolation. The composition of your shot is imperative to get nail the aperture that you want. You know, if you've got some sort of busy background, you want subject isolation. Otherwise, it just looks like a snapshot. All those little point-and-shoot cameras, you know, are taking a shot equivalent of like f/16 or something. Everything's in focus. You have no subject isolation. So obviously, aperture, for many, many reasons, takes priority over that of shutter speed. So priority is illumination, aperture, and shutter. ISO has nothing to do with exposure. Okay? It's illumination, aperture, and shutter. If this is fill flash or speed light work or studio strobe or Mother Nature's illumination or the light pouring through the front window, whatever the illumination is, whether you steal it or whether you create it, whether you drop it in there with a speed light, illumination is number 1. Okay? Speed light. The key, it's been amazing that all these years, all these people talk about the exposure triangle. That always pissed me off. ISO has nothing to do with exposure. It lets you, if you manipulate ISO, it lets you play with these with more latitude. What this is a crutch. When you use this, it's a crutch, which lets you manipulate these in different ways. Once you know what ISO is, then you'll understand that it is not exposure. It just lets you manipulate these. So you can have like an action shot, you could adjust the shutter. Well, Things are too slow right now at 1/60 second. To capture this action, I'm going to have to raise my shutter speed. But to do that, I don't want to change my aperture, so I'm going to have to raise my ISO. You're going to apply some gain, okay? So, okay, there's that one. That's the second triangle. Let's take a look at the third one. This one is the third triangle. This is the art, your art form. These are the things you have to be thinking about all the time over here. Over here we basically have exposure, but specifically we have depth of field. Now we have the composition, what it is you're going to be framing. If it's going to be, I don't know, a naked chick wearing a cantaloupe on her head, smoking a cigarette, that's your composition, right? It's whatever you want it to be, whatever it is, whatever you see and want to take, or whatever it is you're going to make. Hopefully you're making more shots than taking them. I mean, it's fun in photography to both take shots and make shots, right? We love capturing neat stuff. It's more fun when we make our own neat stuff, because then we're making photography. Lighting. All of this, these three aspects are the art of photography. Lighting, depth of field / exposure, and your composition, whatever the hell it is you want to do. Kind of self-explanatory, isn't it? Keep it simple, stupid, right? KISS. Okay. Let's go on to the fourth triangle, which is really two set of triangles. And these are the dual pair. Since this is photography, obviously lighting would have a dual set of triangles, wouldn't it? Okay. These are the triangles of lighting. Okay. Contour, geometry. Say you've got, some person that has abs. You want to give definition to that. You have to be thinking about what something has in its contours. Well, this has very unique contours. If I blast it with light, I've seen some really skilled photographers do some of the dumbest stuff. They'll take something that has really amazing contours and they'll just like wham! They'll blast the piss out of it with light. It's like, why don't you throw some incident lighting on this and now while you're giving it definition, you are defining the specular, the shadow, and you're defining the midtones. This is a monochromatic piece right here. It's a hunk of wood, but it's got a lot of geometry. Whether this is a human body or a hunk of wood or whatever it is you're shooting, a barn, a house, take advantage of the geometry, the contours of what it is you're shooting. The transmissive properties, okay? This is talking about like city lights, street lights, whatever is either reflecting back light to you. We got the reflective and the specular. What's the nature? Well, what's the difference between someone that just got out of a pool, a person you're shooting with flash photography, or regular illumination that just got out of a pool instead of someone standing beside the pool? Their body's covered with water. It has a different specular quality or characteristic to the skin because it's covered and it's wet, obviously. So you always have to think about whatever it is you're shooting, its reflective or specular characteristics, and how you could either take advantage of that or nullify it. The old saying, eliminate the negative, accentuate the positive. Yeah, okay. Okay, over here. Exposure, saturation. What are you exposing for? You're going to talk about the zone system. It's kind of applicable for the zone system. I'm going to shoot this piece of wood. I got one light coming in here. Wham, right over here. What am I going to expose for? I'm going to make, not everything has to be perfectly illuminated. Something the Greeks radically understood was that absence spoke as much as presence. Just because something is totally black. You see, here's the secret of photography too. One of the big secrets of photography is that blown highlights look like crap. Nobody likes blown highlights. It's like a native thing that nobody likes the smell of crap. It's like, it doesn't matter what part of the world you're from, nobody wants to stick their nose in crap. Right? Okay. Okay, same thing with specular. Don't want blown highlights. Nobody likes to look at it. But shadows, something, I have no idea. Like you got a person that's illuminated from a single speed light, half their body is completely black. Can't see a damn thing. It's okay. You got a bunch of their body that's completely blown. Wah, too much light, overexposure. Nobody wants to see that. Absence speaks as much as presence. What is it you're going to expose for? That is all part of the composition. That is all part of the what are you going to expose for? The diffuse? The midtones? You're going to expose for the highlights? Depends on how you illuminate it, right? But then you have to decide what it is you're going to expose for. You're going to expose for the shadows? Well, if you do that, you're probably going to blow the highlights. But if you keep it down, but then you just got a bland shot where everything's just wah. It's got no definition. You expose for the shadows and you don't blow the highlights. Well, then you got something that's perfectly illuminated and it's got no definition. Sometimes that works. Depends on your composition. Most of the time it doesn't work. So what is it you're defining? What are you going to accentuate? What are you going to illuminate everything? Are you going to leave half of it partly black? What are you going to highlight? What are you going to illuminate for? The incidence of the illumination. You could take one speed light that's set on one power, say 1/64th power, okay? Your camera, set, take 30 shots. I can make this piece of wood or anything, a person's body, make anything look 1,000 different ways by just changing the incidence of my illumination. Boom, so it's like crap over here, interesting, fascinating, dramatic, gothy, midday sun. I mean, the incidence, the attack angle of how I approach this, with my lighting. Doesn't matter what it is. Take a picture of this camera, take a picture of a body, a face. The attack angle, this is the reason why the religion that I preach has to do with a flash cable. You got to get the damn speed light, because when that flash is sitting on the top of your camera, you can't do nothing but take boring shots. Boom, boom, boom. Well, that's nice. It looks like a snapshot. Yeah, but it's perfectly exposed. Yeah, but it's boring. Hate it. Get the flash off your camera. Boom. Shoot it over here, here, here. Looks different here, looks different here, looks different here. Wow, that's what's so important about this little cable here. Yeah! Yeah, you know I'm right. If you don't know I'm right, then you need to find out that I am right. Ain't nothing more sucky than sticking a speed light in the hot shoe of your camera, because the lighting is going to look like crap. Crap. So these are the two triangles of lighting. If you can master these four triangles, this is the easy one. ISO, oh, okay, action, low light, shake. ISO is a crutch. ISO is not exposure, and it's not sensitivity. Okay. The art, lighting, depth of field, composition. You have to be thinking about that all the time. This is the real exposure triangle. This is mine. I came up with this, and this is the way it really is, sister. Yeah! This is the real exposure triangle. Aperture, shutter, illumination. Not ISO. ISO lets you tweak these. Lets you tweak these, a combination of these. ISO is nothing to do with exposure. This is exposure, illumination. Whether you take it from nature, or you drop it in with a speed light, or studio strobe, or a mirror, or a reflector, or you shoot laser beams out of your eyeballs, whatever illumination. And it's number one. Number two is aperture. Number three is shutter. ISO is none of these things, nor is it exposure. It's applied gain. It's not sensitivity either. ISO is not sensitivity. Got that? So, I think we understand this now. Where's the third one that I didn't do? Oh, that was the third one. Oh, the last one is the one that I just did, so. I did cover. Kind of made it look simple, didn't I? You really got, well, 5 triangles, but technically it's 4 triangles. You can conquer these 4 triangles, and if you can concentrate, just think about one triangle for like a week, and another triangle, and then mix it up, and then, if you can conquer these 4 triangles, you will master most of the hard parts of photography. The rest of it is the creativity of thinking of like, what if I stuck a grapefruit on that chick's head and had her, balance on one knee and, had her juggle a poodle. All of that stuff is the weird compositions. Like, man, that photography is cool, man. How much for a print of that stuff? Anyway, thanks for watching. Did I say watching? And if you like this video, drop me a buck or two, or tell me to jump off a cliff, whatever makes you happy. But I ain't wrong, baby. Everything I just said is 100% correct, and there's not a single professional photographer in the world you can say, is this guy's video right or wrong? We'll say I'm right. If they say I'm wrong, have them call me, because I'll slap the piss out of them. Because I am right. I am not wrong. Okay? Thanks. Bye. Simplicity is divinity. Yeah!